This week, Apex Media is at Aviation Festival 2019, and we've managed to catch up with Ben Griffin, who has newly been appointed as the VP of Commercial Aviation for OneWeb. Welcome, Ben.
Thanks very much. Thanks for the time. I appreciate it.
No problem. So you've been appointed around the middle of July, or you started your role then. What have you been up to in your role?
So largely getting to grips with technology. I've got over 20 years experience in the connectivity sector anyway, so taking a look to see what OneWeb will deliver. Looking at how we're going to shape the team and how we go to market, and actually getting really excited about bringing this message to the airline community.
Okay, can you go into a little bit about that previous experience? I know that you were with Inmarsat for 8 years, and then going on about shaping the team. How big of a team do you think you'll be putting together to get things going?
Yeah, so firstly, the early part of the career was really about flight deck stuff, cockpit communications, and those sorts of things with the likes of ARINC, which is now part of Collins Aerospace. And then more into the cabin connectivity. So I spent some time with Aeromobile in the Middle East, and I sort of helped to launch that service with Emirates as the first GSM operator on a commercial airline. And I joined Inmarsat in 2011, and subsequently went back to the Middle East again to help push the high throughput satellite capability of GX Aviation in the Middle East and Asia Pacific. And now I find myself at OneWeb, which is very exciting and a really revolutionary change in in-flight communications, which we're delighted to bring to the market. To answer the second part of your question, the team will really dependent on how we go to market and how we use partners. So I don't envisage an enormous amount of people, but the next few weeks and months I'll be very busy applying the strategy and appointing the partners to make sure we go to the market in the most efficient manner possible, both for us and also for our customers. So yeah, we'll see how it goes, but I don't envisage having a huge team.
That's really exciting. Let's backtrack a little bit. And for those who are watching who don't know, can you tell us a little bit about the OneWeb constellation? What's different about the technology?
Yeah, so OneWeb satellites will operate in what's called the low Earth orbit, otherwise known as LEO satellites. They orbit at around 1,200 kilometers above the Earth's surface. That's different to geostationary satellites that orbit on an equatorial plane about 35,000 kilometers above the Earth's surface. The major difference in that is because we're much closer to the Earth, we have a significantly lower latency. In the case of geostationary satellites, you're looking at 600 milliseconds or more, and in LEO orbits, you're looking at less than 100 milliseconds. What that actually means in terms of passenger experience is a much richer connectivity experience and allows airlines and passengers and crew to open up more applications that weren't previously accessible, such as online gaming, such as cloud applications available to business users, for example, a whole host of cabin crew applications, connecting IoT elements of the aircraft in real time that require low latency. So there's a whole breadth of stuff that we can enable now that hasn't really been enabled before. And here this week at the Aviation Festival, we've heard about the importance of low latency and high capacity broadband to aircraft. So there's a clear demand, a clear need, a clear requirement for all these things. In addition to the low latency part, we'll have true global coverage. So we're covering the poles from day one. And we'll have significant capacity and throughput to put down to the aviation market. So this really is very exciting for the aviation industry.
And what I find quite remarkable is the actual number of satellites that you're putting up there. How many is it going to be overall?
So we're putting up 650 satellites initially, and that will give us the capacity and the coverage that we need to start our service with. And we're looking to start that service network operationally in late 2021. And we'll offer the aviation service about that time as well, depending on the complexities in our industry, which is mainly around certification and all these sorts of things. So yeah, there's a tremendous amount of satellites going up into orbit. And we continue our launch schedule from December of this year, and we'll have a launch every month thereafter until we get to the 650 figure. So we've a very aggressive but confirmed launch schedule, and we look forward to having all of those up and putting great service down to the airlines.
Wow, it's a lot of rockets.
It's a lot of rockets, yeah. But it's actually it's good as well. I mean, LEO satellites have a slightly lower life expectancy than GEOs, which is pure physics. But that allows us to be more agile in making sure that we address the market as it evolves as well. We've seen over the past decades how terrestrial needs change quite significantly in a very short space of time. And being able to refresh and renew our assets in space means we can keep much closer track with that than you can traditionally with geostationary satellites, which have a much longer lifespan and typically are a bit longer and more expensive to build and to launch into orbit.
Okay, and I'm sure you can't reveal too much about this stuff just yet, but I've got to ask, have you made any headway in terms of partnerships, both with regard to hardware and the service reseller, like your value-added resellers, for example, what Inmarsat has with GX? Have you begun those conversations at all?
Yeah, and that's formed a lot of the part of what I've been doing since I joined in July. So we had a good look at which partners exist in the marketplace today, where the technology is, where it's going, understanding OEMs from an airframe perspective and their philosophy and where they want to get to. So that's where the bulk of the work has been to this point. You're right, we're not quite ready to divulge who those people are, but we're not far off. So what I can tell you about the terminal, for example, is we're looking very closely at electronically steered array antennas, which removes the mechanical element from the terminals today, which means they will be much more reliable. They need much less downtime for maintenance and all these sorts of things, which is very good news for airlines who operate mechanically steered antenna today. They have much lower profiles, so there's many advantages of doing this. They are particularly well suited to LEO operations as well, so low Earth orbit satellites, where in geostationary satellite environment you lose a look angle, which means you lose power and throughput once you get closer up to the polar regions. So it's a perfect technology that we're looking to adopt. We're coming in at just the right time as all these technologies are maturing as well. And because we don't have the baggage of legacy, we're really using a clean canvas, so we can come at this and assess what's best, both from a network perspective and also in terms of what the airlines and the passengers and the crew require.
Okay, so you said the network will be ready toward the end of 2021. Do you anticipate that aviation services will go live immediately after that? Do you think there will be a bit of a delay as sort of maybe some other sectors get going first?
Yeah, and as I said, and again, it's been a recurring theme here at the Aviation Festival. The complexities involved with certifying some of these things is probably going to be the long lead item, but I don't think we'll be far behind the network service readiness of end of 21, and we'll certainly be doing a lot of testing and proving up until that point. So I think early 22 is a realistic target for the commercial aviation service. Yes.
Incredible. Okay, and then just finally, what are the immediate next steps for you and your team? What does the next 12 months look like as we get ready for that network readiness?
So, the next 12 months is tremendously exciting, not least next week at Apex, which we're really pleased to be going to. So we're quite happy to meet with anyone who wants to talk to us, be they potential partners or airlines or customers and these sorts of things. So do come and find us. We're very pleased to see you. Aside from that, we will then continue the keeping the pulse going literally around the world and talking to people who want to get involved with OneWeb. So we'll be at FT Singapore, Asia, which is in Singapore in mid-November, I believe. Dubai Air Show, I think it's just the week after that. And we'll keep a pulse at all of these sorts of events and then, spread the good word about OneWeb, what we're doing, divulging information as we secure these contracts and these partnerships that I was describing earlier. So there's an awful lot to do. There's awful lot of evangelizing and marketing to be done as well. So we will be very busy over the next 12 months, and I hope in 12 months' time we'll have a similar conversation, and we can reflect on the good work that we've done.
All right. Well, I hope so too. Thank you so much for your time today, Ben.
It's an absolute pleasure. Thanks very much.
And we'll see you next week at Expo and FTE Singapore as well.
Look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you.